Hey there, this is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness podcast. I'm here with Joe Markovich today, and our mission here on the podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to building a transferable or sellable business value, and then for planning your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you build a business that is transferable and then exit with no regrets. We want to help you regret-proof your exit. If you've listened to us at all in the past, you've probably heard us mention this statistic. 75% of business owners are unhappy within 1 year of leaving their businesses, according to surveys done by two reputable sources, the Exit Planning Institute and PwC. And this unhappiness, it can be due to being pushed or forced to exit due to circumstances like health, financial issues, divorce, disinterest, or something similar. But often it can be due to a lack of planning for life after the business. Most sellers, when they leave, experience a 6 to 24-month vacation period after they leave.
Call it the honeymoon. Isn't that the honeymoon?
Okay, the honeymoon. Uh, they they might play a lot of golf. They might spend a lot of time on their boat. They might travel to see family and friends. They may start to chip away at that bucket list with vacations and trips. They might, they haven't been exercising regularly as a business owner, and now they're able to. Maybe that's a big part of their plan. Uh, they seem to always have plans to spend a lot of time now with the kids and the grandkids, only to find out that the kids and the grandkids are often busy with their own lives. So, when the vacation ends or the honeymoon period, as Joe just mentioned, ends, what's next? What activities are going to replace what you've experienced as a successful business owner? You've realized purpose, meaning, significance in your service to many other stakeholders through the years. And then two, who are you going to be? What identity will replace being among the 3% of Americans who own a business? You've been a business owner everywhere you've gone, uh, industry events, chamber of commerce events, your kids' school events, church, family reunions, everywhere you go and everything you do. And then sometimes for decades, you're a business owner and then you're not. Well, we want to help you plan and prepare for that time when you're not anymore. Um, that can be especially challenging. So again, 75% are not happy after they leave. And so we're going to do that with our new Exit Readiness Next Act series of podcast episodes. And so today we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about redesigning life after the business, letting go and moving forward. And we're going to do that with our guest, Patti Julber. Patti owned and built the successful interior design general contracting firm in Bend, Oregon, which she then successfully sold in 2023, not too long ago. And she's been coaching other interior designers and creatives for the last 5 years with the Pearl Collective. She started coaching after having gone through Pearl Collective's VIP experience and then joining their boardroom program. And so now, as the director of coaching for Pearl Collective, she conducts both of these programs for her coaching clients. And so it's great to have Patti with us today because she's built a transferable or sellable business. She's experienced a successful exit, and now she's experiencing life after the business. So we're really excited to talk to her today in this episode of Next Act, our Next Act series. Patti, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you both for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm very passionate about this subject, so I'm excited to be here and talk about it.
Hi, Patti. We've been connecting for a bit, and I'm excited to talk to you as well. I think one of the things that really our listeners might want to know is just what your story is. What briefly can you tell us a bit? What prompted you to start a business, and what was the passion behind that?
Well, what prompted me to start my business was I had friends who started a business, and next door the space was empty, and I had no desire. And these two men had started a slab and tile business, and kind of woke up one morning and told my husband, "Hey, I think we should rent the space next to them, and we're a good collaborative, so let's do this." And I really went into the business thinking I'd be done in 5 years. Well, I started in 2003, and guess what 5 years was? A recession. And it was not a good time to get out of the business. I genuinely, probably naively thought, oh, I'll just sell my business. No big deal. I had no idea what that looked like. So 5 years was 2008. And then, it took me a couple of years to recover from that. And then I moved my business, and then I really started getting successful and got my contractor's license in the meantime and started doing remodels, and again became more successful with many hiccups along the way. I wasn't a very good leader. I wasn't a very good, I wasn't a good hirer or firer or person who really knew how to run her business. I didn't understand that. Joined a coaching program that I got something out of, and that coaching program fell apart. I followed Gail Doby with her Design Success University for quite a few years, bought into many of her programs, but they were not exactly what I needed. They were all self-directed, and I really needed somebody to hold me accountable. So in 2018, I was getting pretty burnt out in my business and went to one of her live events in Denver, where I met quite a few people who were in very similar situations to me, successful but burnt out, or successful but doing things not quite right. And I signed up. It was a very expensive program, and I was like, I don't care. I got to do something. What I'm doing isn't working, and I got to do something different. So joined her program, went through this VIP experience, flew to Denver to do it. It was very intense, and immediately realized benefit from it. She's got a few very important tweaks that she divulges in that VIP experience. And that really shifted my mindset into how I can do things and how I can do things better. And from there, I really started diving deep into my financials, diving deep into how I could be a better boss, how I could be a better leader, how I could be a better business owner. All the way down to improving not only my revenue, but my my net profit. And from that, I just got excited about it. A year later, I said, "Hey, if you ever decide you want to coach, I'd love to coach with you." So it took her about a year and a half, and then she hired me. And a year after that, she asked me to be the director of coaching. And between the two of us, we've done an enormous amount of work on the back end of her business, which has been really fun for me. Other people have fun playing golf. I have fun creating coaching manuals and redesigning this VIP manual. And one of the things that we did during the pandemic is all these VIP experiences became virtual, and we extended them to 3 days. So Erin Weir, who is her co-founder, and I conduct these over 3 days. And I will circle back around to my business in just a
Yes.
second.
Yeah. I was wondering which business we're talking about here. This is
So that
this
was
is your
this
coaching.
is her business, but I get excited about the coaching part of it. So within my business, what I learned is to not be so involved in the weeds and the everyday part of the business, and really to focus on the back end. How can I create a sellable business? I knew in 2018 when I joined Pearl Collective that I wanted to sell my business. So I also had hired a broker at that point, a business broker, who worked on it for about a year, but he really didn't understand well enough what I did, nor was he marketing it well enough
Or
to.
was the impetus to sell your business that you were burnt out, or that you just
I
wanted to
just
do?
I wanted to do something different. I wasn't passionate about it anymore. And it's funny, we just had a retreat about a month ago, and I heard one of the designers say, oh, I like the 10-80-10 business model, which is I like the 10% at the beginning and I like the 10% at the end, and I want everybody else to do the 80% in the middle. And maybe if I'd have figured that out at that point, I might have stayed in the business. But I hadn't figured that out. I really felt like if I started the project, I needed to stay with it and finish it. And so, go ahead.
Did you know what you were wanting to gravitate towards? Did you have a clear idea that I'm kind of done with this, and I want to do this now, or did you have to do some exploring around?
Well, I started doing a few other things, and one is coaching. Um, and I do this very part time. I do it a half time, which is perfect for me. I'm able to work out. I'm able to live in two places. I live in Bend, Oregon half the year. I live in Mexico half the year. I don't
I
like
bet I can guess which half.
it. I'm leaving next Friday. Yes, not hurricane season in Mexico and not winter in Bend, Oregon. So, yeah, so I knew I wanted a different lifestyle than I was leading. And I did want to be able to travel. I'm not a golfer. I don't play pickleball. Like, I have lots of friends who play lots of pickleball, but I do yoga and Pilates and lots of other things. Um, I had joined, about that same time, I had joined our local film festival board. So that was also something I've been active for the last 6 or 7 years, and that's been a big passion of mine.
So
Is
have you replaced kind of your work with other activities, just to kind of fill your time, or are you driven by some kind of new passion that you have?
Well,
Where
I'd
is your
say my
interest?
new passion is really coaching. I mean, I really like helping other interior designers find a vision and find a way to make their business sellable. Not just sellable, but I have one client who's been in business for 3 or 4 years. And then I have businesses that have been in business for 30 years. So I love being able to help them reignite or ignite a passion for understanding how to run a well run business.
Right, right,
Yeah,
and
hey, Joe, can I
yeah,
interject
yes, of
something?
course.
Yeah, something I'm noticing is, the 75% stat that I mentioned earlier, of folks who are not happy within 1 year. One of the things that we've observed, and not just us, but people that work in the space, is that owners who have things that are pulling them away from their business rather than pushing them out. Pushing them out might be the health issues or the financial issues or whatever it might be, but other interests that are pulling them end up not being part of that 75% as often. They end up with a better chance of being much better chance of being happier after they leave. And it sounds like, Patty, you had things starting to pull you, a lot of different interests, you wanted to live in two places, and I know you do things in both of those places. So there were things that seems like they were pulling you more away from the business uh, than pushing you out.
Correct. Yes. And it was more, I just didn't want a full time plus job anymore. I didn't want a full time business that needed my expertise or needed my oversight. And so, yes. And I never started my business because it was the biggest passion in my life. I started my business for a variety of reasons, but that necessary, I was a good interior designer and a better business person. So I think there are a lot of interior designers who are, they eat, drink, sleep, design. That wasn't me. It was really my business. It was not my passion. And I just happened to be successful at it.
Well, it's interesting because in a way, you had to really start that business to be able to do what you're loving to do right now, which is to help others. Had you not had that experience, you would not be able to be a coach in this time of your life. Uh, If you could go back to a time and just kind of talk to yourself, a year or so before you finally exit, what kinds of things would you be telling yourself?
Oh my gosh. That is such a great question. And I have so many answers to it. I would tell myself that I needed better record keeping of every single subscription that I have. I would tell myself that there needed to be a better checklist. I feel like I could write a book on what a broker doesn't tell you, what the checklist that nobody really gives you until 10 minutes before they need that information. That was the sort of thing that I was disappointed in. Um, I had a
Is
good
that
broker.
would that be a
Yes.
checklist that's different than a typical due diligence checklist? Are you talking about a different checklist than that?
Not necessarily. I just felt like the information that was given to me was not given to me necessarily in a timely manner, and even when there was still things a year later that I was dealing with that nobody told me. Nobody said, "Hey," again, going back to that subscription, it wasn't something that I felt like I didn't do a good job. I can't blame it on anybody else, but I had I known, it could have been mitigated in a much more timely manner.
Just one of the things that we try and impress upon, owners who are planning to exit is, what we do is pre due diligence. In exit planning, we have that checklist of things so that when an opportunity comes around, whether it's something that you've planned for or something that's unexpected, that you have what you need ready for prospective buyers, and that and not have these kinds of stressful things that carry on beyond the transaction. Um, that's a really good insight to share with other owners. What about the thinking towards, because many of the owners that we talk to are fearful about what's next. They really don't know. One of the clients we've been working with is one of the first things he said to us, I think, Pat, was that his biggest worry was being on his third cup of coffee at 11 a.m. and wondering what he's going to do with the rest of the day. How can you help corner owners kind of see that this next stage in their life can be, as fulfilling and meaningful as their business was to them?
Well, I really feel that getting involved in your community, whatever that looks like, even if it's a community of people who you walk with, a community of, I joined a film festival to be on their board. There's so much expertise that you can continue to share to give your life meaning. And that really helped me through really the first 6 to 9 months, I do think of as a grieving period. And I don't think anybody prepares you for that. It is a death, it is a divorce, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. But each of those are really good metaphors for what's going to happen. One day you own a business, the next you don't. And you've got to find a way to re-identify who you are. As you were saying at the beginning of this podcast, people need an identity. So if your identity is now, oh, I do, I work out 3 days a week, or I volunteer, I help elderly people with Meals on Wheels, whatever it is, finding a sense of meaning and purpose. Even if you want to be the best golfer, whatever that looks like in your life is crucial to being able to move forward. And I won't say move on, but I really do think forward. I am a lifelong learner. I subscribe to a gazillion newsletters. I love continually learning. I'm really excited by AI. It's not something that I have mixed feelings on it, but I want to know everything I can know about it so that I can be prepared. Uh,
Do you have like many owners, complain about the fact when they transition from, a structured kind of life, they know what they're getting up in the morning, then they go to, you do their routine, and they go to work and they do do you have a structure to your day, or is it kind of open and
it's a
creative?
it's fairly open. My coaching calls are all done via Zoom, so I try and schedule those in the morning. I do have my first cup of coffee. If it's cold, I'm sitting by the fire. If I'm in Cabo, I'm sitting out on my patio looking at the ocean. um, it doesn't suck. No matter where I am, it doesn't suck. I live in two beautiful places, so my structure to my day is, and depending on the day of the week, I work out with a personal trainer on Thursday mornings. So I get up early and go do that, or I go to Pilates. I'm finding a cadence to my life that feels good, that feels right. Um, I have my husband's a pilot, and he works 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So if he's on, we're having coffee together, and if he's off, then I'm enjoying my time alone with my dog and walking the dog, and finding a rhythm with my friends that I have. I do have a great community of women friends that I do things with often.
That's also important. I've heard, from many owners that their social connections were often around the business, the coworkers and other people that they worked with, and all of a sudden, they feel some isolation. Was it something that you experienced, or was that not something that was an issue for you?
I would say yes. I did experience that, and it was more of a self isolation than through my friends. I think that, again, I felt a huge amount of grief around one day I owned a business and the next day I didn't. And I wasn't prepared for that at all. I
Yeah, hey,
wasn't.
Joe, can I point something out about that? This is just so interesting, and it aligns with everything that we've heard from others and the research. Um, you 20 years, 2003 to 2023, right, Patty? Okay, but you had decided you wanted to sell, you wanted to leave, and you wanted to but there was still a mourning and a grieving, even though you wanted to leave.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I got divorced at 35. It was my idea. I was married to a man that wasn't wasn't my forever person. It still devastated me. And I know that to be true. It's no different than a divorce. Even when it's your idea, even when, I initiated that divorce because it wasn't the right person for me. However, I loved being married. I loved the security of being married. I loved all the good stuff that comes with that. But the person I was married to, I didn't. So I had to grieve what I had imagined my life would be like. And this is very similar to that. So that grief is, hey, here's this cocoon that I've created. Here's this safety spot that I've created. And now the band-aid got ripped off and it's gone. So now what? And I created a safety net for myself by being involved with the Ben Film Festival board, by coaching before I coached for 3 years prior to me leaving my business, prior to me selling my business. And I did it on purpose. I created these safety nets, if you will, for myself. That does not mitigate or they're not mutually exclusive, I guess is a better way to put it. That grief is, you can't escape it. When someone dies, even if you expect it, you still are going to grieve. You're still going to miss that warm body, that human being that you loved. And this is another form of something you loved. You created, you gave birth to this baby. And that you absolutely sent them through all the stages. And then for me at 21 years, it was, oh, bye-bye. You need to launch and go be somebody else's baby. It's
There's
similar.
there's one thing that you brought up that I think is really important. For many owners who think about exiting, they often think, well, when I exit the business, then I'm going to start my new life. Then I'm going to be golfing every day, or I'm going to be traveling, or I've got all those things in mind. But you actually started doing that, starting to seismic test in a way some of these alternate ideas, so that when you did leave the business, you already had some momentum going with some new things. That was a really smart thing to do. How did that get in your mind to actually prepare in that way?
Well, I mean, I thought about it. I thought about it long and hard because it was my identity for so long. And I knew that there was going to be a gaping hole of what next? What now? I knew that I wasn't going to golf. That's just not who I am. Um, so I needed something. I needed something to fill my time, fill my days. I didn't, I'm not a television watcher. I wasn't going to sit around and pop bonbons and watch daytime TV because that's just not who I am. So I needed to find something that was going to engage me both creatively and also so that I was continually learning. So that I think
That's
is
excellent. That's excellent. If there
Yeah,
was,
in light of that, what you just said, and also in light of what you were just talking about a few minutes ago, again, in regard to it's no different than being in divorce in the mourning and the grief that you experience. What would you say to some listeners who we talk to who are in the process of exiting and they haven't done any of this planning and they just can't wait to leave? They can't wait to be done. And we say, okay, yeah, uh, you really need to plan for this though, because here's what you can expect based on our experience and based on data and so on and so forth. And they say, yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm just gonna. What
you
would you?
won't. I would just say you aren't going to, yes, you're going to be forced to figure it out, but then expect a seismic shift in your happiness level, in your potential depression. I mean, I hate to say that, but truly, I think that sucking sound will happen of now what, and now what, and now what. How are you going to fill your days? How are you going to fill your heart? It's what is going to give you purpose. Why do you want to get up in the morning? What do you want to be doing? And I do think that owning a business, I don't care if you're cleaning carpets or if you are um, the mayor of a town, you have a purpose. There's a purpose in everything you do. You're always serving something. We're all in, I don't care what we do in life, we're in sales, and sales has a purpose. Somebody has a pain point, you have a service, you come together because of that pain point. And what is the new service? And even if it's a service to yourself, what is that new service that you are going to be providing? How are you going to fill your time in a way that gives your life meaning?
Yeah, you've mentioned community a number of times, and we mention a lot too, because if if I was limited to one word, probably about planning for what's next, someone said to me, a business owner said to me, just give me one word to act on that's going to help me with all this meaning and purpose. And I would say community. Pursue community and whatever. And if you do that, then all these other things will start to fall into place because you'll get engaged with people and you won't be isolated. What do you think about that?
100%, I agree. I think that community is crucial in finding purpose, in finding a way to get up in the morning, and finding a way to um, not isolate, in finding a way, in finding a path forward. And that, again, that community can be small. It can be, a bunch of people who get together for coffee 3 times a week and just hang out and talk about whatever. Maybe you're a skier and you get together with your ski buddies, or whatever that one thing is, but finding that one thing. And that one way forward is definitely to find it in community. I would agree. That one word is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very powerful. So, what excites you most about the future? Now you've gone through that grieving period. You're now you've got a new identity. You've got meaning and purpose in your life. You don't have to push yourself out of bed in the morning. You're excited about your day and where you are. Where do you see the future for you?
Well, I would say twofold. One is in Mexico, we bought a lot. So we're talking about building a home in Todos Santos, which is a tiny little town north of Cabo. So I'm excited about that. that and you talk about community. When I went up there 2 years ago and really was a little lost. It was my first winter spending it away from Bend, and I was a little lost. And I got there and felt like I was home. And turned out it's this sweet little town that I just absolutely fell in love with, and the sense of community there is beautiful. You've got both the expat community as well as the Mexican community. It's just it's just a sweet place, so that resonated with me. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I keep coming back to Pearl Collective. I love what I do, and I really enjoy um, helping these interior designers and architects with how to run their business in a different way, how to run their business as if they were going to sell it soon, so that they are both profitable and have the right mindset. We work on a system of pillars, and we work towards helping people understand within those pillars how to run their business better. And it excites me to continually be learning about that. I love I love neuroscience. And I told my husband the other day, I said, if I'd even known that word when I was in college, that would have been, I'm 65 years old. I don't think that neuroscience was a thing then. So if it had been, I would have been a neuroscientist, because it just the what and the why behind what we do and how we think excites me, and creating new neural pathways to learning is that excites me. So
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I don't know how we're doing for
Yeah, no,
time, Pat,
so
but
here's what I'm thinking. This has been so good. Folks are listeners are really going to be served well by your testimony and experience, Patty. In the last minute or two, in closing, I'm going to ask you if there's anything you want to promote, and if you want to share your contact information. But before we close, is there any? We like to give listeners like 3 steps. If would you have 3 steps or even 1 step in mind for for folks who are thinking, who are exiting, and they have to think about what's next?
so yes, I would say clean up your books. Make sure that you've got a clean P&L and L and a clean balance sheet, and um, make sure that you understand what it is you're selling. Uh, so that would be step one.
Well, that's good. We can help with all that. What's step two?
Step two is ready your mindset. Really ready your mindset. Everything we've talked about today, whether that's community, whether it's purpose, whether it's, you know, whatever you're going to decide to do, start doing it now rather than after. Don't wait for later. Start doing things now. Make time in your life to have that community, to have that purpose, to drive yourself forward with the same passion that you started your business with. And the third step would be practically prepare yourself for some grief. And I don't know how you do that, but I really do believe in all the people I've talked to who have sold their business, there is a grieving and a mourning period of understanding, wow, that hit me like a tsunami. And I just didn't even know that it was coming. So if you can just allow yourself the grace to feel that, don't avoid it, allow yourself the grace.
mhm.
Those would
As
be.
it, it'll pass, right? It'll
Oh,
pass, and
absolutely, it's going to pass. But creating that community will lessen what happens. But I had a good friend who once said to me, wise words, the only way to go through it is the only way to get through it is to go through it. And this is exactly the same thing. I'd love to send you a business diagnostic we use with our potential clients to help them understand where they sit within those 8 pillars. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll send that off to you.
Oh,
I do
sure.
work for thepearlcollective.com. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, fantastic. We will hope to be able to serve you and your clients going forward with whatever's needed. And and listeners, if you want help with what we've discussed today, and taking Patty's experience and counsel in addition to our own, and really putting in place a plan for what's next after the business, reach out. Reach out to Joe, jm@ennissLP.com, or you can just contact us through our website at ExitReadiness.com. If you need help in maximizing the value of your business or planning for your eventual exit, contact us. And if you've benefited from today's episode, and I know you have if you've listened to it, please consider liking it and sharing it on social media. Thank you for listening. And until next time on the Exit Readiness Podcast, this is Pat Ennis with Joe Markovich signing off.